Hey fifth graders, today we're going to be finishing our graffiti names project. We started this last week, but if you didn't start last week, definitely catch up today. You're going to want to watch Graffiti Names Part 1. This video is going to be Graffiti Names Part 2, and what we're going to do is we're going to be focusing on adding color to our names, and we're also going to be adding a background. Let's get to it. So we're going to start today by coloring in the letters of our name. On this one, I use marker, but you can use whatever art supplies you have available. If you have watercolor paint, go for it. If you got crayons, perfect. Colored pencils, markers, whatever you have, you are welcome to use whatever art supplies you have available to you. On mine, I've colored in all my letters the same colors so that it would be easier to read them. If you use a lot of different colors, like if I used red and then blue and then purple and then green, it's a little hard on your eye because it has to jump around from color to color. So I kind of recommend keeping the letters of your name color-wise minimal, but that doesn't mean you have to just do it all solid like I did. You can if you want to, but if you want to kind of jazz it up, I'm going to show you guys some options. So this is mine from last week, my example one. On a separate piece of paper, I just created the letter A. If you would like to do kind of like a fade, a transition from one shade to another shade, you're welcome to do that. That'll make your lettering look a little bit more complex. Try to find two shades of a color that blend well together. I know that yellow and orange blend really well together because they're next to each other on the color wheel. Usually colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, like blue and purple, for example, green and yellow, colors like that usually blend really well together. And you can also use your judgment, like purple and pink look great together. You might want to test out the colors to make sure that they actually do blend well together. So I have a little bit of yellow up here. I can overlap and add a little bit of orange over here and kind of create a fade. So kind of like those value scales that we created in 4th grade, it's very similar. You can kind of create a fade effect from one shade to another shade. And feel free to do that on your letter if you would like to. This is really subtle, but I ended up actually using 3 colors on my letter A over here. I used yellow, a medium orange, and a darker orange. So it kind of fades from yellow to light orange to darker orange at the bottom. You can make the fade a little bit more dramatic if you pick, colors that are quite different from each other. It's really up to you what kind of look you're going for. Again, if you'd like to just make your letter solid, that's your choice. Before you do anything else, before you color in any other details, definitely do the letters first. So I'm going to do the letters on my example name over here. All right, so I finished coloring in the letters of my name. I did do that transitional effect where it fades from yellow to a medium orange to a darker orange. And something additional that I did on this that I did not do on that page that just had the letter A is I have a like a 3D shadow area on these letters. So I tried to find an even darker shade of orange. So I found a red orange, which was the darkest orange that I could find in the crayon box. And I used that to color in those shadow areas so that it would kind of make my letters look a little bit more raised, like it's popping right off the wall. Now, after you're done coloring in the letters of your name, you're going to want to focus on that highlight area, that shape area that you created around your name last time. And everybody's shape area looks different. You might remember from the video last week that I made mine with little drips. Does yours have to have drips? No way. Yours can be whatever shape you want. It can be a rectangle, it can be an oval, it can be a geometric shape, it can be an organic shape, kind of like what I've created over here. It's really up to you. You're the artist, you can kind of figure it out. But you have to be very mindful when you are coloring that part in. I'm going to give you a bad example before I give you a good example. I want to color in that shape area around my name, but I would not want to use a color on mine, specifically on mine, like red. Why do you think that is? Yep, red is really close in tone to those oranges that I use. So it's possible that if I use the red, it's gonna kind of fade into the orange colors. I wanna pick a color that I know is gonna make my yellow-orange letters pop out instead of blend in. So if I use warm colors for my letters, something like a cool color would be good for the background area. Maybe I want to use green, purple, blue. I definitely recommend testing out your colors before you use them. Like this is indigo. It's pretty dark. It's a kind of borderline purple. I know. It would really make, yeah, wow. It would really make my letters pop. But maybe this is like too much. Maybe it's too much of a pop. Maybe it's too shocking. So maybe I want to kind of tone it down a little bit. Maybe I want to use this cerulean shade. Oh yeah, this one is like a much cooler tone. So it's really a judgment call. I definitely recommend kind of getting a separate piece of paper for yourself and, you know, just sketching things out, testing out colors, and make a decision, see what you like best, and then you can color in your shape area. Oh, something else you could do before I fast forward here, something else you could do is you could also do a fade in this area. If I want to transition from like, you know, a light blue to a dark blue or a dark blue to a light blue, you're welcome to do something like that. If you want to just color it in solid, that's okay too, it's your choice. So I finished coloring in the shape background area behind my letters. I ended up choosing that cerulean color instead of that darker tone that I showed before. I could have done a fade if I wanted to, and you still can too. It's really up to you what colors you choose to do. And if you have any pictures, like I have this little guy and these wings on either side, feel free to color those in too. If there's anything that you'd like to intentionally leave white, like I have these highlights on my name, feel free to do that if you prefer to. Now that we have our names colored in, we're going to focus on the background of this picture, which is going to be essentially a wall. You're going to have multiple options here. If we were in the art room, we would probably be doing this part by printmaking. We'd be using rollers and ink, but we're going to do this an alternative way for this project. And I'm going to give you guys two options. Something that you can do is you can create a brick texture directly behind your name if you would like to. And you can do that on the same exact piece of paper that you wrote your name on. If I wanted to do that on my paper here, obviously I would erase these two shapes. I don't need them, and I did them in pencil, so I can erase them. I gave myself that option. If you would like to use a red piece of paper to create your wall, you're welcome to do that too. Does it have to be red paper? Not necessarily. Brick comes in all different colors. It comes in brown. I've seen white brick walls. It's really up to you what color paper you choose, but if you want it to have that, like, you know, ruddy brick effect, try to find a piece of red or brown paper. Now, to make the wall, you're gonna need a ruler and a pencil. I'm going to use a red piece of paper to show you how to create the wall. I hope that you'll be able to see the markings. Let's see. Let me just test this before I do it. Can you see that? I don't know. It's kind of like when we're in the art room and we're using the smartboard, and I'm never sure what you can see and what you cannot see. So, you know what, just to be safe here, I'm going to use a black crayon, just kind of like I would do in the art room if you really need to see something closely on dark paper. But you shouldn't use this to get started. Definitely use a pencil when you're making your bricks. So in order to make bricks, either behind your name or on a separate piece of paper, your choice, you're going to need to figure out how big you want your bricks to be. My paper, I just measured it, it's 9 inches. What I want to do is I want to create maybe either 1-inch bricks, maybe they're 2-inch, maybe they're 1.5 inches. And you're gonna wanna kind of create like ticks on your paper. So I'm gonna make a little marking at 2 inches. I'm gonna make one at 4. I'm gonna make one at 6. and I'm gonna make one at 8. And that's gonna represent where I'm gonna have to draw my horizontal lines to kind of create my row of bricks on my brick wall. I chose to do 2 inches across. You don't have to do that. You could do 1 inch, 1.5 inch. It's really up to you. You just have to kind of measure it out, because if you don't, it ends up looking a little wonky. You want to kind of keep your horizontal line straight. So as you can see right now, what I'm doing is I'm making horizontal lines across my paper. Something that I want you to do so that you don't miss the mark, like literally, you don't want to miss the mark. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my crayon, in your case you're going to put your pencil, down on the mark that you created. Use a ruler, and also I should have mentioned this earlier, if you don't have a ruler, you can use something else. You can use a straight edge of any type. You can use a book, a side of a notebook, whatever you have. I happen to be using a ruler, which is helpful because it does give me those numbers. So definitely start off by making your horizontal lines first. It's going to be a little bit smaller at the bottom because my paper is only 9 inches and I was making 2-inch tick marks. So it's a little smaller here, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. We'll just kind of roll with it and we'll just pretend that the picture got cut off or something. All right, now we're going to be creating the vertical lines, and the vertical lines have to be staggered. So that means we're not just making like vertical lines straight down. When you're building a building, you want to kind of stagger the bricks. So you can eyeball it. You can actually measure it if you choose. I'm going to kind of eyeball it, which means I'm going to be kind of just making the vertical lines where I think they're going to look the best. What I'm doing is I'm making 1, 2, 3 vertical lines, but I skipped over every other section. The reason why I did that was to help me stagger. So I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to do that over here. Okay, a lot of you guys can see where I'm going with this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to shift down my ruler a little bit more, and I'm going to do that same thing on the first, skip the second one, third one I'll make a vertical line, the fourth one, shift my ruler down a little bit more. I'm going to do the second row, the fourth row. I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to see if I need to like make anything up so that this picture looks a little bit better. Maybe I'll make vertical line over here, vertical line over here, take one more look at it, and yeah, I think it's good. It's okay if your vertical lines aren't all like, you know, perfectly spaced out and equal, but definitely make sure you do a pretty good job with the horizontal lines. Otherwise, everything looks a little weird. And I kind of like the way it looks with black crayon on it. It kind of makes it stand out. So feel free to start with pencil first. And yeah, maybe you do want to use a black marker or a crayon, or maybe you'd even like to use a gray so it looks like building material, like cement or something holding the bricks together. You could even use a white if you'd like to do that. That would kind of pop against the red. So it's really your decision. It's up to you guys what you do to make your bricks stand out.